Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Julie Sakura, the Contemplative Knitter, and today's podcast is about my love affair with Lopi. I got a chance to go to Iceland last September, and of course I was going to get some yarn. And I knew about Lopi sweaters because back in the 70s I knit two Lopi sweaters. Heaven knows where they are now, but I remember I enjoyed knitting them and they went really quickly, and I think it was the first time I had ever done a yoke sweater top down. So when I was in Iceland, I went to several knitting stores and I bought some Lopi yarn. And the Lopi yarn comes in these big circles, they as bigger than a dinner plate. And what it is it's wool that's been washed and carded and then just sort of stretched out. It's not spun at all. So let me show you. Originally, the sweater that I have on, which I'll show you in just a second, was made of three strands held together of this yarn. And they, as I said, they came in these big dinner plate kind of things. So I had three circles of the Lopi yarn, and I was trying to pull three strands from the three circles, and they're unwinding, and this is on the hotel bed and driving my husband a little bit crazy on the trip because I had to cast on. I had to buy needles there because I couldn't stand looking at the yarn without being able to use it. So I finally got the bright idea that maybe I should roll a ball of the Lopi yarn and put all three strands. So roll the ball and then knit from it. Now that was the way to go. So as you can see, this ball is made up of three strands of this unspun Lopi wool. So there's no twist to it. It's just sort of like the wool's been pulled, and it's super delicate if you look at just one strand of it. So if you take one strand, which is this, super easy to pull apart. It just pulls apart. So that's why it's not a good idea to try to knit from the dinner plate configuration. That it's better to pull it together, because when you get three of them together, it's very difficult to pull apart. The good news, though, if you do pull the Lopi yarn apart, it's super easy to put back together, because all you have to do is get a little water, take the two strands, twist them together, twist them in your fingers. I mean, I'm not even using water here. And there you have it. They're back together. So it was kind of a cool metaphor for me, because when we're alone, we can be a little fragile, but when we're together in a group or a community, it's hard to break us apart. It's amazing the difference in the tensile strength. So I needed a pattern, and they didn't have like individual Lopi sweater patterns, at least not in the store I was at. So I ended up having to buy this book, Knitting with Icelandic Wool. And the cool thing about it is it's recently published, and so therefore it had more modern takes on what I was knitting in the 70s. So I did pick something that was very similar to what I made in the 70s. I'm a little stuck in the 70s. There it is. So that's the sweater that I made. And it's kind of cool. A little very, very Lopi looking, but with sort of a modern twist. So I did it, and this is it. Oh, let me get up and show the bottom, the sleeves, the back. This is, there we go. Took me no time at all. It was done in 3 weeks. I mean, it's on, again, size 10 needles. So like the Magnolia Bloom, like the train wreck of a sweater I talked about last time, it's a very quick knit. Now, there's a lot of people that like really soft, squishy yarns. If you're that kind of person and wool kind of bothers you, like 100% wool, this is not what you want to be making. I mean, it's toothy. I mean, it's not, for me, I wear a shirt underneath. I have a shirt underneath it, but it's incredibly warm. I live in the Northeast, up near Rochester, New York, and it's 16 degrees today. And this with a fairly light down coat, I'm good to go. I mean, it is. I wore it skiing and I was sweating, and I am never warm ever. So I love this. I love this sweater, and I love the yarn. I had a lot left over. So what I decided to do, oh, let me just tell you the name of the sweater because I forgot that the last time. It's probably not something I can pronounce that easily. Speaking Icelandic, or it's crazy. Yeah, so this is Dalur, however you would say that. Dalur. Anyway, that's the name of the sweater I made. So I had a lot of leftover yarn, all three colors. So I decided to make some hats. There were four of us that went on this trip to Iceland, my husband, myself, and another couple. So this was the hat I made for me. I just kind of found a pattern and created a gauge and just decided to put this together. Here it is. Again, super warm. And because it's got like the folded up brim, it's a double layer on your ears. And it's just really warm. I love it. And if it's raining or lightly snowing, it gets wet, but it just doesn't. It's like a duck. It's like the moisture just rolls right off of it. So I did this one, and then for my husband, I used the gray as the main color, and then the black and the white for the pattern. So here we are. For the other couple, I did black as the main and did gray and white in the pattern, and then I made another white one with instead of where the gray is on this one, I did the black and the gray was in the middle. So I'm going to try and put a picture in. We'll see if I can do that. So 2 hats and this sweater, and I still have some yarn left over. So I made another hat, and it's a beautiful pattern. And I'll try and put a picture of that. And I made it all white, and it was made from 2 strands. I can't remember the name of it, and I forgot to prepare the name for this podcast. So I'll try and put it in and put the name of the pattern. But so I re-rolled the ball that had 3 strands into a ball with 2 strands for that. So I got a lot of bang for my buck on that particular buy of yarn, and I basically use it up right away. I mean, I have bits and bobs of it left of black, and so I've got a little Lopi bag that I keep all this extra yarn in. So after I did that, I went into my stash, and I've had this sweater sitting in there for a long time, 5, 6, 7 years. It was a kit that I'd actually bought in Watkins Glen, New York at the knitting store down there, and I saw the sweater on a dress form and I fell in love with it. It was just gorgeous. So I got the kit home and I took it apart, and it's made of I opened it up, and I was disappointed in 2 things. First of all, that they didn't include any buttons, and they were these pewter kind of buttons, and it sort of made the sweater. So I didn't have any buttons. And second of all, it had to be steeked. Now, I know most of you know what steeking is, but for the uninitiated, you actually have to cut your yarn. And I've seen videos, I've seen people do a shot of whiskey before they cut their yarn, and I'd never done that. So 5 or 6 years ago, I'm like, oh, I can't even conceive of doing that. So I just kind of put the kit up on the shelf. Well, after I had knit this sweater and experienced a lot of the Lopi yarn, I thought, it's sticky. It's woolly, it's toothy. I mean, it hangs on to each other. So I thought, well, I can do this. And I guess the hard part in thinking about steeking is that you have to knit the whole thing, and then you have to cut. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just knit a little bit and do a practice steek and see how that goes before I knit the entire sweater. So I did. I knit a swatch and I put in some steeking stitches, and then I actually sewed next to the steeking stitches on each side on my sewing machine, and I got the scissors out and I cut the steek. And it worked, just like everyone says it works. But it's hard to believe them when it's your hours and hours of knitting. So in the kit, I have a lot left over. There is this, it's a Letty Lopi yarn. So this does have some spin to it. It's not like just the plain old Lopi where there's no spin and you can easily tear it apart. I mean, this has got spin and it's hard. I mean, it's definitely strong. I can't just pull it apart with my fingers. This is a leftover skein from the sweater. And I will put the name of the sweater and the designer underneath here at some point because, again, I can't pronounce the name. I don't want to try and butcher it. I'll put it in the show notes so that you can check it out. You can get the pattern off of Ravelry, and it's incredibly beautiful. And I think you can get this yarn from the Woolly Thistle. So if you haven't seen the Woolly Thistles podcast or gone on the website for the Woolly Thistle, it's this wonderful woman from Scotland who imports yarn from the UK and outside of the US of hard to get kind of stuff, and it's a great way to go and get it shipped from inside the US because she does all of that importing for us. And I know she carries some kind of Lopi yarn, so you probably could get it from her. So this is the sweater. It's a cardigan because I've already mentioned the pewter buttons. I'll just hold it up for you. There it is. So the main color is this sort of charcoal black, and then I've got some gray and white, and it's a very modern looking Lopi pattern, and it's got the same pattern on the sleeves. And again, what happens is you knit it in the round because that's how you knit colors, in the round, and then you steek it right up the front. You cut it, and then you pick up for these button bands, and then you knit the button bands after you've steeked it. So at Rhinebeck, I found some pewter buttons. I was so happy, and I thought they looked great, so I bought them and put them on. And then on the inside you have a raw edge, so I covered it with fabric. This is fabric that I had, and I thought it was fun. I mean, it's a polka dot, so I just sewed that in there, actually on the machine. Can't even see it on the front. And I got myself this lovely cardigan, and it's just gorgeous. I actually made the right size. It fits beautifully. I will put it on for you and show you, but it's definitely a smaller gauge and definitely took longer to make than this big bulky Lopi sweater that I made. Now you get to see my inside, see my floats. There's my floats. The cool thing about the floats on the inside is there's a talk about another layer of warmth, right? The only seam on this sweater is underneath the armpit because it's knit from the top down. And then you put the sleeves, top of the sleeves on some knitting holders, and then you do a cast on to continue knitting in the round down the body. And then you take the sleeve stitches and you knit one sleeve at a time, and then you just have to sew underneath the arm. I'm not going to show you the seam because it's okay. Who looks under your arms? I guess if you do one of these, but you know. It's not, it's too fast. So I got to do a better job sewing under the arms. I won't show you that, but other than that, I think it's gorgeous. Came out really perfectly. So the cardigan is, it to me, it's more of a more formal kind of sweater. Be nice to wear with a black skirt. In the winter up here. There we go. It's just a wonderful warm layer. This is not quite as toothy as the other the regular Lopi. This is the Leti Lopi, because this does have a little bit of a twist to it. So it's not quite as crazy. Let's get this so it's looking good. Now I will show you this. Isn't that beautiful? Just a gorgeous sweater. Turn myself around. Yeah. There. I got it pulled down so it isn't gaping like there. Cool, huh? Anyway, so the other Lopi thing that I did was I went to a woman's store called Hespa. And unfortunately, she wasn't there. There was a man there who was a little surprised to see anyone coming in. His English wasn't super good, but everyone speaks English in Iceland. It's amazing. So he was really sorry she wasn't there. She takes yarn and then uses natural dyes from plants to dye like a Leti Lopi yarn. So I bought 5 skeins of this, and it's about the same sort of weight as this of the sweater that I made. But each one of these is 50 grams. So I didn't think that would, I wasn't quite sure what I could make with it. And she only had 5 skeins. So I found another skein that I thought maybe I could do some color work with. She doesn't really have color name. They're just natural colored. And she has something in Icelandic. But I found this pink and I thought, that would be a good contrast and I could do some color work with that. But she only had one of these. And I'm like, I don't know if that's enough of that. So, of course, this gives me an excuse to buy more, right? So I found these 2 colors. But these are like a lace weight. But I thought I could hold these 2 together and have maybe a 3rd color. So that's kind of the plan. Now, I've been looking for a sweater to make with those, and I hadn't really found anything yet. And I was thinking, well, maybe a vest, and then I probably have enough yarn if I did maybe sort of a vest thing. And during the last podcast, when I was showing you the Isla cardigan that I'm currently working on, and we'll have an update in the next podcast on that and the pink sweater, I found another pattern in that same book, in the Magpie Home Buddies and Nomad book, for something called the Rekka pullover, which I thought was made of Leti Lopi. I thought this was amazing. It's kind of got, it's got a hood, which I probably would not make. But see the color work on the top and on the bottom? I think that would work if I did this purple kind of body with the pink color work. There's another picture I can show you. And then just not put in the hood. And it doesn't have sleeves. It's more like a vest kind of thing. So I'm definitely going to look into that. What I need to do is see what sort of math I can do to figure out how much yarn do I have and is that going to work for it. And so that's sort of my love affair with Lopi. Although it's getting to the point where that project I may have to save because you really only want to knit with Lopi yarn in the winter time. And it's perfect here right now. It's February, but I've already made some commitments to some other FOs. I have to wind all of that into balls. There's some math to do. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but we'll see. But I did want to show you these two beautiful sweaters that I've made with Lopi yarn, because if you're in the Northeast and you're still experiencing the 15 degrees and the snow and all of that, and you're looking for something new and fast, then get some Lopi. It's so different. It's so much fun, and it's so fragile, yet you can just put it back together. It's so cool. Don't you wish we healed so easily? Anyway, try that. And you could easily, if you wanted to do a sweater like I did, you could easily get something done between now and the second week of March. So 3 weeks, right? 2 weeks left in February, first week in March. Yeah, you'd be wearing it in case the March comes in like a lion instead of a lamb. But hey, we live in hope. So thanks for joining me for this special Lopi Love Affair edition of Contemplative Knitting. Until I see you again, happy knitting.